Have you ever stared at a decision so big that it felt like standing on the edge of a cliff? Your whole life behind you, memories, routines, your home, your freedom, and suddenly you're being told, or maybe quietly wondering, if it's time to move into a nursing home. It's not an easy question. It never is. Maybe someone gently brought it up, a doctor, a family member, even a friend. Maybe you've seen others make the move, and some look okay, while others seem to just fade. And deep down you wonder, is that what's ahead for me too? Here's the truth. Most people don't talk honestly about what happens when you move into a nursing home. Not the glossy brochure version, not the formal checklist you get from some hospital social worker. I'm talking about the real emotional, mental, and physical changes that come with this massive life transition. Because yes, for some, nursing homes are a blessing. But for others, they can quietly chip away at the very thing that makes life worth living, your independence, your identity, and your joy. That's why I want to have this conversation with you today. Not to scare you, but to prepare you. Because the more you understand the truths that most people won't say out loud, the more empowered you'll be to make the decision that's truly right for you, not just what's easiest for others. So, let's begin with something we rarely acknowledge. You might feel more alone after you move in than you do now. That sounds strange, doesn't it? We imagine nursing homes as places full of people. Activity rooms, shared meals, hallways buzzing with life. And sure, those things can exist, but being surrounded by people doesn't always mean you feel connected. In fact, loneliness in nursing homes is one of the biggest hidden struggles older adults face. You see, when you leave your home, you leave more than just walls and furniture. You leave your habits, your neighborhood, your daily rhythm. You might even leave your pet, your favorite chair, your garden. And that disconnection? It starts slowly, but it builds. You wake up, not in your bed, but in one that someone else made. Breakfast isn't the eggs you've made for 40 years. It's whatever's on the tray. You don't set your schedule, someone else does. And even if people around you are nice, they're not your people. What most don't realize is that loneliness in nursing homes is not always loud. It's not about crying or complaining. It's quiet. It's in the long pauses. The days that feel the same. The missing hugs. The unshared jokes. The feeling that your world has shrunk. And this loneliness, it can affect your health. Studies show it increases the risk of depression, cognitive decline, and even heart disease. But this doesn't mean you should never consider a nursing home. What it means is, you have to go in with your eyes open, with a plan, with safeguards, with your voice. Ask yourself, if you were to move, how would you stay connected? Can you visit your old neighborhood? Will friends or family visit regularly, or are they far away? Can you still access hobbies that light you up? Will you be allowed privacy when you want it? And connection when you need it? Because if you don't ask these questions before you go, you might be asking them alone once you're there. And that brings us to another truth no one likes to talk about. You may lose more independence than you expected. Now, this isn't to say that nursing homes are controlling, but think about this. When you live on your own, you decide everything. What you eat, when you shower, what time you go to bed. Even something as simple as when you take a walk or make a cup of tea. In a nursing home, things are scheduled. Set. Meal times. Medication rounds. Lights out hours. Staff rotate. And while this structure is important, it's not tailored to you. It's designed for efficiency, safety, and group living. That's not a bad thing. But if you're used to calling your own shots, it can feel jarring. You might find yourself asking for permission more than you're used to, waiting for assistance when you'd rather just do, or being told something like, you need to wait until after lunch when you're used to doing it now. And little by little, it can start to wear on you. You begin to question yourself. You become more passive. You stop asking, stop insisting, stop deciding. Here's why that matters. Your sense of independence is directly tied to your emotional health. It's not just about pride, it's about dignity, about still being the driver of your own life, even if the road looks different now. So if you're considering a nursing home, you need to ask hard questions. What freedoms do you keep? What rules are non-negotiable? How can you advocate for yourself before you need someone else to do it? Because the more you can maintain your sense of agency, the more likely you are to feel empowered, not diminished by your next chapter. We've talked about how loneliness and a loss of independence can quietly creep in once you move into a nursing home. But there's another truth people often discover only after it's too late. You may stop being treated like an adult. Now, that may sound extreme, but hear me out. Most of us have lived full, rich lives by the time we reach our 70s, 80s, or 90s. We've raised children, built careers, survived hardships, made mistakes, and learned from them. We've earned our wisdom, our experience, and the right to make our own decisions, even if those decisions aren't perfect. But once you step into a care facility, something shifts. Without even meaning to, people start treating you like a child. Time for your shower. Don't forget your pills. Let's not do that just in case you fall. Suddenly you hear more instructions than questions. You're monitored, managed, redirected. Your choices are often filtered through the lens of what's safe or easier for the staff, not what feels right for you. Even the tone changes. That sing-song voice some caregivers use, the overly cheerful attitude meant to soothe but often ends up feeling condescending. It doesn't come from a bad place. It's often meant with kindness, but the effect, it can make you feel invisible. Like your identity is being slowly erased, and that's one of the hardest things. Because at this stage of life, respect matters more than ever. You want to be heard, not handled. You want conversation, not control. So how do you protect that? It starts by choosing a place where staff see you as a person, not just a patient, where they know your name, your story, your preferences, where they ask questions instead of assuming, where you're allowed to say no, or yes, or come back later. It also means making your expectations clear from the start. If you value privacy, say so. If you want to manage your own medication routine, ask if that's possible. If something makes you feel disrespected, speak up. You're not being difficult. You're preserving your dignity. And that's worth everything. Now, let's talk about something that no one puts on the brochure, but affects almost every resident. The emotional toll of witnessing decline in others. You see, when you live independently, you have some control over what you're exposed to. You choose who you see, where you go, what conversations you take part in. But in a nursing home, you can't always avoid the difficult parts. You might make a new friend down the hall, and then watch them slowly fade. You might eat next to someone every day until one day, they're gone. You might see people struggling with memory, mobility, or emotions, and it can feel like a preview of your own future. It's something that weighs on many residents, but it's rarely talked about. There's a quiet grief that builds in those spaces, not just for others, but for the parts of yourself that feel uncertain, vulnerable, or next in line. And if you don't have support, someone to process it with, it can feel very heavy. That's why it's so important to care not just for your body, but for your spirit. Whether it's talking with a counselor, joining a support group, keeping a journal, or even just having one person you can be fully honest with, don't carry those feelings alone. Because you're still here, you still matter, and your story isn't done. Now, all of this might sound like I'm trying to scare you out of moving into a nursing home. But the truth is, for many people, it can be a good thing. For someone with serious medical needs, it can be safer. For someone isolated in their own home, it can be a place to meet others. For someone who's tired of managing everything alone, it can offer support. But it must be a decision made with your eyes wide open. Because here's the final truth we're going to talk about in this part. A nursing home isn't the only option. In fact, many people move into one not because it's the best choice, but because they didn't realize other choices existed. There are home care services that come to you. There are independent living, communities where you have your own space but access to help when needed. There are shared living arrangements, co-housing, or even trusted family setups where support is available but freedom is preserved. Technology has made it easier than ever to stay in your home longer. Smart fall detectors, medication reminders, remote check-ins with doctors, even companionship apps and digital support groups. Sometimes we accept the next step without exploring whether it's really the right step. So before you move, before you sign anything, pack a bag, or say goodbye to the home you love, ask yourself, what do I really need help with? What parts of life bring me joy and peace? What scares me about staying? What excites me about moving? And then talk about it. With your family, your doctor, your friends, but most importantly with yourself, because this is your life. This chapter belongs to you, and you deserve to make a choice that honors everything you've lived through and everything you still want to become. Let's pause for a moment and really take this in. This next stage of life, whatever it looks like for you, doesn't have to be shaped by fear, pressure, or assumptions. It can be shaped by choice. And that brings us to another truth many people don't realize until they've already made the move. You might lose touch with the world outside. Not intentionally, of course, but here's what happens. When you live in your own home, you're part of a neighborhood. You know the woman at the corner store. You wave to the man walking his dog. You hear the kids playing outside, the hum of life beyond your walls. But in a nursing home, that world begins to shrink. The days start to revolve around the building, the same hallways, the same meal times, the same faces. Outings become planned activities. Visitors, while welcome, become occasional instead of regular. And slowly, you start to feel like the outside world is moving on without you. It's not about being forgotten. It's about being disconnected. Now, some people adapt to this change easily. They form new routines, bond with other residents, and feel content. But for others, especially those who thrived on variety and spontaneity, it can feel like life is becoming a loop instead of a journey. So how do you keep that connection alive? You fight for it. You ask family or friends to take you out, not just for errands, but for life. A walk in the park, a trip to your favorite cafe, a ride through your old neighborhood. You video call people regularly, not just when they remember, to check in. You read the news, join online communities, volunteer remotely. Anything that reminds you that you're still a part of the world, not just watching it from the sidelines. Because you are still needed. Your voice still matters. Your presence still makes a difference. And when you stay connected, you stay alive. Not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, vibrantly alive. And now we arrive at perhaps the most bittersweet truth of all. No matter how lovely the building is, how kind the staff are, or how well organized the routines may be, a nursing home cannot replace home. Home isn't just four walls. It's the chair that knows your shape, the kitchen drawer you can reach with your eyes closed, the light that hits the window just right every morning. It's your things, your smells, your memories tucked into every corner. When you leave that behind, something shifts deep inside. And yes, we all adapt. We're human. We're resilient. But there's a reason why so many people say, I just want to stay in my own home as long as I can. Because home holds more than furniture, it holds you. Now, this doesn't mean that moving into a nursing home is wrong. Sometimes it's necessary. Sometimes it even becomes a place of comfort and safety. But don't expect it to feel like home overnight, or even in a few weeks. Give yourself time. Be patient with the grief that comes, not just from what you've left behind, but from who you were in that space. And most importantly, bring pieces of that home with you. Not just photos, but habits. Not just your favorite pillow, but the morning ritual you've always done. Not just decorations, but your spirit. Ask the staff if you can make your own tea the way you like it. Play the music that fills your soul. Bring the same blanket you napped with on Sunday afternoons. Whatever connects you to your true self, bring it. You may be in a new place, but you don't have to lose the essence of your life, because that essence, that's what makes every day worth waking up for. And one last thought before we move on. You don't need to have all the answers. Today, this isn't about rushing into a decision or feeling guilty for the one you've made. It's about being honest with yourself. What do I want this next chapter to look like? What fears do I need to face? What dreams have I still not chased? Because whether you move into a nursing home or stay right where you are, this chapter is still yours to write. And it can be powerful, peaceful, even joyful. Not because everything's perfect, but because you are living it on your terms. Because what we're talking about here isn't just logistics, it's life. Real, personal, emotional life. And sometimes these truths sneak up on us. Not because we didn't care, but because we were trying so hard to do the right thing. Now here's another truth that surprises many people, especially those who believe that a nursing home means more support, more structure, and fewer worries. It doesn't always mean you'll feel safer. That might sound strange, right? Nursing homes are designed to offer assistance, medical supervision, and a team of people nearby. But here's the thing. Safety isn't just about having someone to call when you fall. It's about feeling secure. Emotionally, mentally, and even spiritually. And for many, especially at the beginning, that sense of inner safety can start to slip. Imagine this. You're in a new environment. You're surrounded by people you don't know. The schedule is no longer yours to decide. There's a knock before every meal. There are rules about when visitors can come and when lights go out. You might have to ask permission for things you've done freely your whole life. And even though the staff may be kind, even though the intention is good, that little voice inside you starts to whisper, I don't feel in control anymore. That's where fear creeps in, not the loud kind, but the quiet kind. The kind that says, what if they forget me? Or, what if no one hears me when I need help? It's not about drama. It's about dignity. So how do you restore that feeling of safety? You start with small, empowering steps. Speak up about your preferences. Let people know your routines. Ask questions even if you've already asked them before. Build relationships with the staff so you're not just a room number, but a name, a person, a presence. And if something doesn't feel right, don't stay silent. You are still the author of your life. And your sense of safety matters, not just physically, but emotionally too. Now let's talk about something no one ever wants to say out loud. When you move into a nursing home, you may start to feel invisible, not on purpose, not because people don't care, but because there are so many routines, so many tasks, so many others around you. And slowly, quietly, it's like your individuality gets pushed to the background. You stop being Bob who used to fix cars, or Margaret who danced every Friday night, and you start being Room 213, or the woman who needs assistance eating. And that is heartbreaking, but it doesn't have to stay that way. You are still you. Your stories, your passions, your personality, they haven't gone anywhere. They may feel buried under layers of adjustment and routine, but they are still there, waiting for a spark to bring them back to life. So light the spark. Talk about who you were and who you still are. Share your stories with the other residents. Laugh about the things you've seen. Offer wisdom to younger staff. Bring color into the room with your voice, your memories, your style. Wear your favorite shirt, even if it's not the easy to wash one. Ask to play the music that reminds you of your youth. Start a weekly story corner where you and others can share your lives out loud. Refuse to let the world forget that you are a masterpiece of a person with layers of beauty, pain, love, and resilience. Because invisibility doesn't come from others, it begins when we start to dim our own light. So keep shining. And here's one more truth no one tells you until much later. You're allowed to change your mind. Maybe you moved in thinking it was the right decision. Maybe family encouraged it, or circumstances left you little choice. And now, Maybe you're sitting there wondering, is this really it? You are allowed to feel that. You are allowed to reevaluate. You are allowed to say, this doesn't feel like home. It doesn't mean you're ungrateful. It doesn't mean you're being difficult. It just means you're human. Some people thrive in nursing homes. Others realize it's not the right fit, and they make changes. They move in with family. They switch to in-home care. They find senior living communities with more independence. The path isn't fixed, it can shift. Just like you. So don't be afraid to speak up. Your comfort, your peace, your happiness. They are not luxuries. They are necessities, and you are allowed to ask for more. Because this stage of life, whether it's calm or messy, peaceful or painful, is still yours. You've earned the right to make it meaningful. You've earned the right to choose what home feels like. And you've earned the right to be seen, heard, loved, and supported exactly as you are. Not someday, not eventually, but now. So now we've walked through some of the raw, unspoken truths about nursing homes. Things people often find out only after they've already packed their bags and said goodbye to the life they knew. But before we close this conversation, there's one final truth I want to leave you with, one that might be the most important of all. Moving into a nursing home is not the end of your story. I know it can feel that way. The world sends all kinds of messages, and that after a certain age you're meant to step back, to shrink, to become quiet and manageable. But that's not your job. That's never been your job, because you are still growing. Yes, even now. Especially now. Growth doesn't stop with birthdays or changing circumstances. It doesn't stop just because you've slowed down physically, or because the chapter looks different than you thought it would. Growth is deeper than that. Growth is courage. It's curiosity. It's showing up to life with open eyes, even when it hurts. And here's the beautiful part. You still have that in you. It doesn't matter if you've moved into a nursing home, or you're thinking about it, or you've decided against it altogether. What matters is that you're still here, still breathing, still deciding what kind of life you want to lead, even in a limited space, even with fewer choices than before. You get to redefine what thriving means for you. Maybe that looks like starting a small garden on your windowsill, or writing letters to family members you haven't spoken to in years, or sitting with someone who's lonely and sharing your time. Maybe it looks like starting every day with one thing to look forward to. A cup of tea, a walk in the hallway, a song you love playing in your earbuds. Maybe it means saying no when something doesn't feel right, or saying yes to something new that scares you just a little. You see, independence isn't always about where you live, it's about how you live. You can be powerful in a wheelchair. You can be radiant in a care facility. You can be wise, joyful, funny, bold, and unforgettable. Whether you're in a house, an apartment, or a nursing home room with a single bed and a view of the parking lot, that is not what defines you. You define you. So if no one's told you lately, let me be the one. You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to feel sad or scared or overwhelmed. You are allowed to ask for help. You are allowed to feel proud of how far you've come. You are allowed to celebrate your life, even the messy, imperfect parts, because you're not done yet. No matter what anyone says, you still have chapters to write. You still have moments to feel deeply, people to impact, memories to make. Even if they're quiet, even if no one else notices, you will know, and you'll know that you didn't settle. You didn't give up. You didn't disappear. You kept showing up to your own life, with honesty, with strength, and with heart. If this video gave you something to think about, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Maybe you've already been through this decision. Maybe you've seen a loved one go through it. Maybe you're still figuring it out. Drop a comment below. Share your truth. Because when we speak openly, we realize we're not alone. And if you haven't yet, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We talk about real life topics, honest, Warm, empowering conversations that help you live with more confidence, clarity, and joy, because you deserve that. At any age, in any season, in every space you call home. Here's to living your life fully, with courage, kindness, and pride in every step forward. I'll see you in the next video.